I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call attendance, please.
Certainly. Stacy Alvarez.
Here.
Dan McNabb.
Here.
Here.
Justin Collier.
Here.
Mary Reese. Gail Zumwalt. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. It's my understanding we have some public comments to be read. Excuse me?
Yes, I have one public comment from Arnie Dienoff that was emailed to the trustees at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Board of Trustees, I would like to make the following public comments to the Board of Trustees and for the public record. One, I greatly appreciate the joint partnership of the City County Library District and the St. Charles County Department of Public Health, the environment, and providing the availability of new clean face masks, hand sanitizer, and alcohol wipes for patrons to have at their fingertips and disposal. Congratulations to the staff and team for being awarded by the Department of Economic Development the largest broadband grant in the state of Missouri through Federal COVID CARES Act funding opportunity. Use this money wisely and in innovative ways to make the most important impact on communities that are in need of internet access. Number 3, as the library district submitted a reimbursement application, documents, and information to the County of St. Charles Department of Finance and Department of Public Health and the environment for costs associated with COVID-19 from the Federal CARES Act. If so, what is the amount being sought from the county? Thank you to the library district for all that you do and the families and lives that you touch that I see in our library branches across the entire City County Library District. Arnie A.C. Dienoff, County and Community Civic Advocate.
Thank you. Next is reports and correspondence, the financial report.
So as far as revenues are concerned, year to date, we are on track, just about 100%. As far as the expenditures, we are being conservative during this time. We're 100% on target as far as materials, but as far as the other areas, we are lagging behind budget a bit. Capital outlay, capital projects, they are percentage-wise, they show as 50.4% complete of year-to-date budget, but based on the project timelines, the major projects are really on target and on budget. So the budget amounts will catch up as we go throughout fiscal 21. So, I guess just 2 notes. As far as insurance is concerned, we got good news. As far as our health and our dental insurance, we are not going to have rate increases come January 2021. So that's tremendous news for us currently. And I guess other than that, we do have the audit ongoing this week, next week. So if you have any questions?
Questions. So in the public comment, there was a question about reimbursement through the CARES Act. Have we looked into that at all, or?
So St. Charles County is primary when it comes to those funds that they
already submitted our expenses to the county.
we have.
Do you know how much those were?
We do. Those totals were, well, actually, I do need to speak to the Director of Finance because we need to add to those former totals, really, as far as the gap in time.
Any other questions for Julie? Okay. Move on to the director's report, please.
All right, thank you. I want to start by drawing your attention to the that we did receive. I know we've talked about it a couple of times, but the grant for expanding broadband access and telehealth. We just received word of that. It was last week. And I included the entire sort of press release from the Missouri Department of Economic Development in your packet so you could see what the governor had to say, and then the total recipients. I believe there are 39 libraries, and the total awarded was $870,000. We received $120,000 of that. So we were the highest award total by quite a bit. I think Mid-Continent Library was next, and they were in the 80,000. So that is really exciting, and a big thank you to all of the staff that were involved in putting that grant proposal together. With that said, there's a very quick turnaround to get the money spent. So also kudos in advance to all the staff that are going to be involved with spending the awarded funds here in the next few weeks. So, but that's really exciting. And so one of the things that we've been thinking about is how we share that type of good news with our other partners within the community, and in particular, how we keep County Executive Ellman and Mayor Borgmeyer, the two appointing authorities, apprised of goings on at the library. So one of the things that we're going to start doing after this meeting is actually sending to their offices the approved minutes and the director's report. And I'm going to send that. There is a trustees email account that's just a generic board email account. I'll be sending it from that unless there are any objections. So it'll be coming from the board, but no individual trustee. And then beyond that, we've also talked about sending this director's report to actually all the other mayors or in the county and the school districts and things like that, just so they're aware of what's going on, and there could be potential partnership opportunities arise from that. So, really, I wanted to spend some time today talking about where we are with relation to COVID and how it has impacted library operations. And one of the things that I did was in the report, I looked at and put a chart of the distribution of library use among our branches. And this is from the beginning of the fiscal year. And we've really seen some differences or some different patterns of usage than we normally see. And there's a number of reasons why. Obviously, the fact that Catherine Linneman is closed right now has impacted other locations. Maclay is the only other facility in the city of St. Charles is one. Spencer is one that are seeing an uptick in use because of patrons from Catherine Linneman. We do have curbside pickup at Duchesne High School across the street, but that's only one facet of the service. We saw about 2,100, I think, items were checked out from Duchesne in a month. So it is getting use, but obviously computer use and things like that, that's being driven to other locations. Another factor is the fact that St. Louis County Library's facilities are not open to the public. And so if you think back and remember, they opened their facilities to the public around the same times that we did. They were curbside before that, just like we were. But then, I don't know, about a month or so, maybe more later, they did close their physical facilities. So they are curbside only now. And as are all but two of the municipal libraries in St. Louis County, they are also, their physical buildings are closed to the public. And we have seen an increase in computer users in particular at some of our locations because of that. Also Maclay is seeing that. And then, so Maclay is also then seeing an increase because 2 years ago, it was a building kind of surrounded by a forest, and now it's a building surrounded by a neighborhood. So they really are, if you look at the pie chart, since the beginning of the fiscal year, they've seen almost the same number of visitors as Bettendorf-Credell, so which is a much larger regional facility with a bigger staff. So they are, I mean, I guess overwhelmed is a strong term, but I don't know about that, but they are definitely seeing a lot more business than they have in the past. So, and I think some of it will taper off, but some of it won't, simply because of the increase in population right around the facility. So it bears keeping an eye on. The second thing that I wanted to just let you know is looking at, we are still continuing with curbside service even when our facilities are open, and we're seeing most locations, curbside accounts to about 4 to 7% of visitors. The big exception is, and it's not curbside, it's drive up, but here at Spencer, the only facility that has a drive-through, 27% of their business is through that drive-through, which is a huge increase over what it was in the past. And I think that we can kind of foreshadow what we might see at Cliffview when it opens, and we'll also have a drive-through. So that's something that just bears watching as we move forward. If you look at the pie chart, unfortunately, the use at Orchard Farm, you actually can't even see the pie wedge because it's been steady but slow. I'm about 100 items checked out a month, which, I mean, really that's pretty consistent with what we were seeing at Portage de Sioux. So not a big surprise necessarily. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we're limited to curbside there. I mean, we had planned an inside physical presence, but because of the school's restrictions on visitors, we were unable to do that. We're grateful that they're allowing curbside there. So perfectly understandable restriction, but it is kind of limiting service there. But it's steady and it's being used, but it's kind of the same rate that we were seeing at Portage or thereabouts. So, and then I just kind of talk a little bit about where we are in the services that we're offering. As I mentioned, so St. Louis Public, in the greater St. Louis metro area, between St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County, St. Louis Public in the city, and then just Webster Groves and University City, and then us. We're are the only libraries that have physical locations open right now. So, and I know Webster Groves just, I think, started a couple weeks ago again. So we took an approach that we did open more, we're pretty much on the same timeline as the other libraries, but we went a ways further in what we opened up. They also have restrictions that we don't have. So St. Louis Public, for example, they allow 30 minutes of browsing the stacks, and that's it, and only allow 1 hour of computer use a day. So we are offering considerably more right now. And the reason I wanted to point that out is we're starting to see those libraries incrementally increase service, and they're getting to a point where they are approaching what we've been doing. And I say that because I don't necessarily see anything on the horizon that will drive us to increase more because we took the approach to open more earlier. And I think it was a good approach. And it wasn't me dictating that to staff. We had a return to service team that was led by 4 branch managers and then a number of public service staff. And after weighing all of the information that was out there, I mean, that's really, they created this plan, return to service plan. And I think it's been really good because I think it's really rooted in sort of common sense and in facts, and there have been adjustments that have been made as new information has become available, but it's not really been driven by sort of either side, sort of we have to lock everything down, we can't have anything open, or the other side, which is, why aren't you completely open doing everything that you were doing in the past? I mean, we really are kind of towing the line and kind of going down the middle there. But like I said, I don't know that anything is on the horizon that's going to drastically change conditions that we say, okay, well, we can expand hours again now. We had originally said we were going to stick with these hours at least through the end of the year. It takes several months, I think, to kind of ramp up in terms of getting staff aligned, because a lot of them had to rearrange their lives in order to meet the new hours. If we talk about introducing public programs, that's a lot of meeting room work and booking and so forth. So we'd have to be making that decision now, and I don't see any compelling evidence that would say that, okay, well, in 2 months we'll be able to open again. So I think realistically, we're kind of looking at least spring now to stick with these hours. And I think that's also smart because we're approaching flu season and winter and more people indoors and we don't know what will happen. So that's where we are. I think the one thing that could change a little bit is the quarantine period for items. Currently we're quarantining return things for 4 days. And that's based on, initially there was a lot of focus on, we don't know how the virus is spread and a concern about transmission on surfaces. And You may have remembered that I mentioned there was OCLC is working with the lab to do some controlled studies on library materials and how long the virus lives. And so they've been doing those studies, and they've even found we did actually expand our quarantine from 3 days to 4 days based on some of those results. There's been some results back now that when items are stacked, there's still virus present after 6 days, for example. However, there's a whole other set of articles and publications that have come out that have, from virologists and such, that have pointed out they're starting with an incredibly high level of virus on the surface that doesn't mimic real life in any way. So, like, I mean, really, really like they would just slap, I mean, I don't know what the technical term is, but the point is it doesn't mimic what would ever be on a set of library materials. So that group is saying an overnight quarantine is fine because if you're talking about a real life amount of virus that's on the materials, most of it would be dead within 7 hours or something like that. So it's got kind of these competing things out there that we're looking at. And so one of the things that is important to us is we want to know how staff is feeling in the staff comfort level, not just with the quarantine period, but with sort of everything. It's been many months now. We've got staff that have been working from home for this whole time. So we have a survey out right now to staff asking about, do they have what they need to work from home? Do they have what they need to work from the office? Do they, asking their general comfort level. And we're interested in seeing what comes out of that and using that as one data point to look at the possibility of changing up that quarantine. But I guess that's really kind of what I wanted to touch on there, and just give you an update. Do you have any questions about that, or?
So I'm clear too, what are we doing in terms of the process for, like we don't limit to 30 minutes for browsing. Do we just limit the number of patrons in the facility? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, our focus has been on building capacities. So, and really, kind of taking the approach that if we're not hitting a building capacity, it doesn't really matter how long the person is in the building. So, yeah, and as I mentioned, Maclay is hitting building capacity fairly frequently. Some of the other locations are as well. It's less of an issue with our larger facilities, but by and large, most times we're not hitting capacity.
Other than that, there's no major restrictions.
Not on computer use or borrowing or lending or anything like that, no.
Any other questions for Jason? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to the statistical report.
Okay, and really, the one thing that I wanted to point out here, because we've same patterns that we've seen now since the pandemic, decreases where you'd expect decreases to be. E-media, however, continues to increase. And what I wanted to point out there is that when I've talked about increasing use of electronic resources in the past, it's really sort of the assumption and the focus has been on ebooks, but we're seeing everything. So even databases, even those types of things, about a 24% increase. And there's a number of reasons why. Some of the vendors have allowed home access now during this period when they hadn't. It had to be in library only before, so that has contributed some, but also just the number of things that we're offering, I think we're seeing are appreciated and have been probably discovered by more people. And so it really, that increase goes well beyond Hoopla and Overdrive and ebooks to the breadth of our online resources.
Any questions for Jason on the statistical report? Okay. It looks like there's no correspondence, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes from September 8th of 2020? Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to the formal agenda, there is no old business. And the only new business is item 21-13, the Missouri Loggers 2020 annual meeting.
All right, so the Loggers annual meeting is actually, there's a virtual component this year. So initially they had said they were still planning to have it in person, but they have now added a virtual component. So generally it would be a member of the board that would attend the Loggers meeting unless they would delegate staff to represent the library. So that's what you would need if that was your desire, unless anyone here would like to attend. Okay, so I noticed that the note or on the memo, it says requested action. I don't know, requested is a little strong, but I mean, whatever. That would be the motion you would make if you wish to delegate it to staff to attend.
And I mean, that's typically what we do.
Yeah, always, yeah.
So is there a motion with regard to the agenda item to authorize the library to appoint staff to serve as an employee delegate to the Missouri Virtual Loggers meeting in October?
One of you's got to volunteer to go then.
Right.
Okay, I will make that motion.
Okay. Hearing a motion, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the motion authorizing the City County Library to appoint a library staff member to serve as the employee delegate, the virtual Missouri Loggers 2020 annual meeting in October, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And I believe, looking at that, there's no further new business. At this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion.
Thank you, Myra. Is there
I will second, and I also want to say that the audio is greatly improved.
Excellent.
Thank you. I'm glad it's much better. Okay, so there is a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Wow. Tried to talk as much as I could.
Only every day.